And welcome back to episode 103 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
Well, Carl, it is a week on from the Apple event, or the
It
Far Out event. I can't believe a week's been, gone so quickly. We did have plans to have this in the can before the end of last week, but due to some technical difficulties being spread around the world, it hasn't worked out quite as we planned. So we're coming to you now a week on from the event, or just shy of it, where we're going to bring you our thoughts, our feelings, and our pre-orders of what Apple have dropped. So I reckon, given what it's been, we should probably get straight into it. What do you think?
Yep, definitely.
All right then. So we had the Apple Far Out event then, which really was I think pretty much a standard event these days, isn't it? Watch, phone, iOS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Off the bat, and it was a pretty slick event. Do you think? I think we're pretty used to these now, aren't
as usual, it's slick. But I mean, the videos do keep getting better and better, and they do like to tug at your heartstrings, don't they?
Some of those, yeah, you're right. I mean, some of those VTs where they bring in, don't they? The moments of people using the watches or the phones, and talking about their life, or giving you not even talking. Sometimes it's just almost like a view, isn't it, of what they've been getting up to.
Yeah.
You're right. It's exceptionally slick, and Apple have perfected this. And I think we said this a year ago. Apple's production values are beyond Hollywood, aren't they? They are in a level of their own, and I think we're going forward, even in this post-COVID world. This is how it's going to be, isn't it? I think they're still using the Steve Jobs theatre in a way, but this is now how to make sure it rolls without a hitch. The days of watching a demo and it going a little bit eerie, I think, are gone. I don't know. No, exactly. Maybe I'm wrong.
And even if you get an invite in person, you basically go sit there and you watch a pre-recorded event anyway.
Yeah, you have Steve Jobs. Well, that'd be impressive. You have Tim Cook come on stage, talk about what's coming up, don't you? And they roll the VT effectively,
Exactly. No, I mean, so they've been very good. I kind of left the event thinking, if I don't buy something, I'm going to die.
So I had the same problem.
Was that subconsciously? That was the theme of a lot of the videos about how it saved people's lives. I was like, I need to buy something or I'm going to die. I need to buy something.
I had big FOMO. I mean, so you watching it live, unfortunately, due to some work commitments, I was having it live blogged. Thank you very much.
All right.
So I didn't miss that at all. And then I caught up with the event afterwards. But I had a feeling I need something. I need one of these devices. I need it now. Which is terrible because, reality is I don't need any of this stuff.
No, they got us hook, line, and sinker.
It's been a very expensive event, let's say. But I think, in that case, then let's talk about some of the key points. So Far Out then. So what did we got with the Far Out? We had the stars, we had space.
I mean, the star, didn't they? They morphed the Apple logo into stars. They flew through it. They went down to Earth. And as they zoomed down through Earth, you could see the satellite just hanging over it, couldn't you? Which I think was setting the stage for what was to come, which we'll obviously discuss in a bit.
Yeah, so I think one thing to be clear, and we'll talk about a little bit at the end to kind of wrap up what they didn't talk about. Well, one thing that wasn't there straight away talking was astrophotography. That certainly was not.
No, we did not get that in the slightest.
We didn't at all. But satellites, we'll come to that a little bit more in a moment then. But I tell you what, let's talk about the watches then, because we've got three. Technically speaking, we've got 2 replacements and 1 new watch, didn't we? I think
we have. Yeah, that's right. So we kicked off with what was the Watch 8, wasn't it? We kicked off the event off of, which was a Watch 7, and it was a Watch 6. I mean, it looked identical, didn't it? It's the same GPU. They've just scratched off the 7 and put an 8. It's not GPU, sorry, the CPU. Yeah. They scratched off the 7 and put an 8 like they did last time with the 6. It's the same design, really, as the 6 is. It's got a slightly larger screen, hasn't it?
But, so you've got the 7, the improvements of the 7, isn't it? Of the slightly flatter edges.
Slightly larger, 45 mil rather than 44 mil screen. That kind of stuff. That was all pretty ho-hum. But I mean, and then it got good, but a lot of it was software. Hardware-wise, they did introduce, what was it? 3 new sensors? What did we get? We got we got temperature sensors, didn't we? So they started off a large segment around women's fertility, didn't they? And introduced new temp sensors. There's one underneath the watch and one underneath the display, if I remember rightly.
I think that was it, and it, as you say, it to really be clear here, this temperature sensor has not been advertised or mentioned of any other health benefits
No, it
beyond
has not. Fertility
tracking this,
tracking.
tracking your, the ovulation cycle,
Exactly.
and then
Though they are saying it's accurate to 0.1 C.
That's incredibly accurate, given the placing of a temperature sensor on the wrist is typically not
Yeah.
used.
And obviously not to then go on and say, well, you can just check your temperature anytime you want to. It feeds into other stuff. No, it is only for ovulation cycle tracking, as you mentioned. So if it is that accurate, why not more?
Yeah.
Or is this an FDA approval kind of thing?
I wonder. I was just going to say, I wonder whether they haven't got sign off yet to be able to do that. But ovulation perhaps is slightly different because there are already apps today that can track that, and you input the sensors. And this is, I think, for when you look at this and kind of the improvements of the watches, this is probably actually a really useful one for a wide spectrum of the population.
Yeah.
And certainly it was interesting for me reading that and watching it, given obviously what's happened in America in the last few months with the Raid versus
It was very
Roe.
telling, wasn't it? Especially when they went on to make that big point, didn't they, about encrypting the data on the watch itself, and neither Apple or anyone else can access this data unless you specifically choose to share it. They made a big point about that.
But there's been a lot of information, wasn't there, around people saying delete certain period tracking apps or menstruation apps, wasn't there, before, because of concerns over data access. So Apple, I think, certainly here are covering their bases here on that, and obviously ensuring the privacy and safety of any woman that chooses to use it. So actually, really interesting feature. As a non-ovulating member of society, I'm interested to hopefully see that they can bring the temperature sensing to other parts. Because if you could allow that, because they're saying they can use this, can't they, to track that and look for irregularities, which
like irregularities, anything that changes and alert you to it. Like they do for a lot of the other sensors, don't they? They show you irregularities.
But what I'd like is a better say, look, well, we're going to take combination of temperature sensor, the O2 sensor, and the heart rate. We think you might have a fever or something.
Yeah,
that would be good.
You're coming down. Your watch knows you're going to be ill before you do.
Yeah. So, but no, certainly that was probably the biggest sensor change, wasn't it? And one that people have been alluding to for a while. But we also got what's the other, crash detection, wasn't it? That was one of the other.
Did, yeah, 2 new sensors or improved sensors. I think we got a new gyroscope,
and improved accelerometer capabilities,
and a new G-force sensor, which is going to be used for its car crash detection. Apparently, it can detect up to 256 Gs, though you'll be dead before it reaches that. So I wouldn't worry about recording that.
I was like, yeah, if you've hit 250 Gs, the least you've got. I think the car crash is the least of your worries at this point.
Yeah, but like the fall detection, though, isn't it? They're going to be using it to automatically call emergency services. If it detects you in a car crash. This line killed me. The very end of detailing it, they went, and we truly hope you never have to use it. I was like, me too. Thank you very much. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Apparently, they went through lots of car crash testing with the watches and stuff like that, and lots of simulations. And apparently, you can not just detect in a car crash, the type of car crash as well. So, whether you've just rear-ended someone, whether you rolled the car, it can tell all that kind of stuff.
I mean, this, again, I really stress this is not a new capability that nobody's ever had before, because my Pixel 6 has got car crash detection, and it's quite clear set. But so this is Apple, I think, again, taking capability, improving that capability, isn't it, again, and bringing it to a wider market space. So you're right, another interesting point in their sensors wise. But taking those away for again, you're right, this is just an evolution. This is a 7, a 7. What would it be? A 7S, wouldn't it, if it'd been a phone?
It is. We got a bigger battery as well, though. By the look of it, didn't we? We got 18-hour battery, and if you use this new low power mode, so the same as low power you get on your phone, there's a low power mode for the watch now. It will send it to 36 hours apparently.
Yeah, but that low power mode software.
Of course it is. Yeah,
because I've got it on my 6.
That is rolling out. Isn't that's been backported all the way back to this Series 4.
Yeah, so that's one thing I really want to stress here. I think a lot of the things we're seeing from Apple in this event are software based, and we'll talk about that with iOS 16 in a bit. But the stuff that around the medications app, that's Watch OS 9. The sleep stages, Watch OS 9. The low power mode, again, software, but you're right, the battery life is improved. But wasn't it 18-hour battery life with the Watch Series 7, or am I wrong?
Can't remember. I'm still running a 4. So
Well, so I'm pretty sure 18-hour battery life came with a 7.
okay.
But yeah, you're right. So we got that crash detection. There's AFib history as well, isn't there? So there's now tracking AFib history, which apparently is only available in the US.
Yeah, some of this stuff we'll talk about is only in the US so far.
Yeah, so this health revolution, so the AFib history, which is again WatchOS 9 effectively, and now is so AFib detection, just to kind of recap, came in with the Series 4, and apparently it's 98% accurate. And I remember, I think I might have said this before. When I went to the hospital last year, I had a bit of a heart sort of palpitation, and what the doctor in the A&E said to me, or the cardiologist said, "Oh, I see you're wearing a watch." And it's like, we have so many people in now that have spotted things that they would have missed, and doctor, and they were saying how accurate it was. Not that we should use it as a every day,
No,
but the
it's not. I
point
mean,
was,
traditionally they'll use like 7 or 8 point monitors, won't they, to get
but
completely accurate? But it's enough to give you an
it's
indication.
enough, yeah. So the AFib history now it shows that it uses apparently over a period of time. So there's no, apparently this is relatively groundbreaking, because there hasn't been a way to track the frequency of these AFib fibrillations over a certain period of time. So it now allows Apple, using the software, to address possible lifestyle factors over that time. So anybody that has been diagnosed with it,
Yeah.
so in America at least, can turn the feature on, and it shows how frequently their heart rhythm drops in and out. And then again, that can be tracked and exported to doctors. So there's
Handy.
some rumors that diabetes tracking may be the next thing. That is
They've been talking about that before. But what, an actual blood glucose,
non-invasive,
blood sugar? Non-invasive. So.
non-invasive, yeah.
Is it going to
But
test the sweat or something like that, is it?
yeah, but going off on the tangent, but yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, effectively, this, when you look at this Series 8, it is very similar to a Series 7. So I think for you and I, who have not upgraded to a Series 7 watch, you will certainly see the difference more than
Oh,
I
yeah.
will being on a 6. But I think it'll still be a noticeable upgrade for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other thing they mentioned, again, this is software, and I think this is coming to any model that's got a cellular, is international roaming, because before
Oh,
the
that's
watch
right.
couldn't roam,
Yeah.
so that's
No.
coming. But again, I think that's coming to all watches that have cellular.
Yeah, and again, the other problem is the multi-sport tracking. Again, for those of us that were running the beta of WatchOS 9, you have the multi-sport tracking. So, like, triathlon effectively,
Yeah.
coming to that. But again, the other stuff, great features, a nice looking watch. I think again comes into some slight changes, isn't there, in the chassis design now, isn't it? So we've got aluminium and stainless steel versions,
Yeah.
plus product
And
red.
we get what? Midnight, Starlight, Silver, and Red for your aluminium, and with stainless steel, you get silver, gold, and graphite.
That's right, and the green is gone, isn't it? The other one.
It has. There's loads of new bands and watch faces coming, isn't there? They even said the Nike watch faces will be available even if you've got a non-Nike branded one.
That's right.
But pricing, and they keep saying the pricing hasn't changed. The pricing only hasn't changed if you're in the US. We'll talk more about that when we get to the biggest culprit, the phone. But they're
yeah,
saying, $399 aren't they? But that's not £399 anymore. That's £419 or £529 if you want cellular.
Yeah, or $549 if you want cellular.
Oh, I had 529 written down, but yeah.
I mean, and I know that for a fact because I'll tell you about it in a minute. But that's 549 for the 45 millimeter.
549, right?
For the cellular.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the cellular comes in both models, so this is the starting price. It's probably the smaller one I've got written down.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, cool. So then the other one was the Watch SE was the other upgrade, wasn't it? So the SE2 now, well, they haven't called it that. They've just called it the SE.
I think we should take a moment to mourn the death of the Watch 3.
Finally,
yes. Well, finally, it's dead.
Yeah. yes. And let's be fair. It probably was overdue.
It's a long time coming. It should have been put out to pasture a few generations ago. But
why Apple have kept it on with the last one, I have no idea. It just seemed a weird place to be in the lineup, didn't it?
No, it did make me laugh though. They did highlight the new Watch SE, or is it the second SE watch? Isn't it?
This is SE Gen 2, yeah.
It is. They did like to highlight it was exactly the same CPUs you've got in the Watch 8, but failed to mention it's the exact same CPUs as what's in the Watch 6. But hey ho.
Yeah, but this is but there's another product that's got the same CPUs. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So the SE, I think the SE is a great entry point. If you are, want an Apple Watch, but you don't need
Yeah.
all the bells and whistles, or you are looking to give it to perhaps a older generation who's not as tech savvy,
Or a
or
kid.
in perhaps children. Yeah, I think you're right.
And
The
that's what they were
SE,
aiming at, wasn't it?
yeah,
It seemed to indicate that. It was an odd one hardware-wise, so it's still using the old chassis, so we get the 44 mil rather
that's
than the
right.
larger sizes. And it's got the new chips for crash detection, but you still don't get blood oxygen or temp sensors and no always on display. So there's a real
No, but
mix going on.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So on the plus side, you get the OLED, you get the heart rate, full, as you say, full detection, emergency calling, isn't it? The
Yeah.
sleep tracking, and it's water resistant to 50 meters. Yeah, 50 meters.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a middle ground, isn't it? Really?
It is, and it's a. They obviously dropped the price as well. It's $240 or starts at $249, or $299 if you want cellular.
I really like this. I think the SE is a great entry point. I really do. Okay, I
Yeah,
mean, I know it's expensive. Don't get me wrong here, but for what it does, it's really good. And if you've got cellular on there, it's a good way to give your children some peace of mind, isn't it?
yeah,
To if they're older, or get them involved in kind of some of the health tracking features. And I don't mean I just mean like as in if they like sports, they're running, or they
yeah,
do other, again, it's a great way to help them. And if you live in a house that is Apple centric, or at least Apple products, there's that, again, that family, the family setup piece, isn't there? The linking back, the security pieces to it.
yeah,
So it's a good watch. My wife's got the SE, the last generation SE, and
yeah,
she loves it. She absolutely loves her watch. And all she cares about is the heart rate sensor, um, the tracking, the fitness tracking. That's her.
yeah.
And obviously things like the communication side of it. She's not fussed about the always on display or any of that stuff.
No,
It does what it does for her. So yeah, I think they're on, for me. This is a winner product. This to me is kind of the one that will just keep
it'll
on
be their
giving.
biggest selling one, I imagine.
I think so, yeah. But apart from that, reality, not much else has changed, really, has it? Beyond
No,
those points.
not at all. They
All right,
saved all that for the next one, didn't they? They brought out the big guns. Oh yeah,
boom.
yeah. But it's not the Watch 8 Pro, though, is it, Jay?
It is not. It is the Watch Ultra,
Ultra.
and
Yeah,
it is somewhat ultra.
they
So,
have maybe over-engineered this.
possibly. So, welcome to the Apple Watch Ultra, which takes its place at the top of the lineup, elbowing out any of these other high-end models, such as the Hermes, the Gold, any of those ones at the side. This bad boy is the new undisputed king of the smartwatch,
Yeah,
and boy, does it come with some interesting features.
it's
So
a big boy.
first off, let's talk about the size. 49mm titanium case.
Yeah, no, aerospace grade titanium case.
Oh, sorry, I
You know.
do apologise.
But it's a chunky boy, isn't it?
It is chuckable. So it's got a redesigned chassis. So it has got the design, I guess, basically, if you haven't seen one yet, if you're looking at it top down, it would look like an Apple Watch. It has the same
Yeah,
design chassis around
you
it.
know it's an Apple Watch.
But the difference is on the right-hand side of it, we now have this almost like a sort of a
Tumor?
lozenge shape, don't we?
Tumor, yeah.
Tumor, a lozenge on the side, which is sort of there's a kind of a button guard on it, and the
Yeah.
crown is recessed into this new button. And on the left hand side, we have a new button called the Action button as well,
In
and
orange.
in orange, and a larger speaker. This is Apple's new bold color, by the way. That's international orange. I hope you know that.
As international, I
It
did
is
not know
international
that,
orange.
no.
So the action button completely can be customized for any purpose.
Yeah.
It works pretty much any of the apps that are supported, and Apple will open it up to third-party apps as well. But the other thing about this thing, this screen is huge, as you said,
Yeah.
absolutely huge. But also, it's super bright, though, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's what, 2000 nits? It's a flat sapphire crystal one as well. So it's not rounded like your current watches. It's completely flat to obviously help you not hit it on things and scratch it up. But and if you do, it's got that sapphire crystal. But yeah, 2000 nits is bright.
Well, the other watches are 1,000 nits, and they're meant to be 1,000 nits, so they're viewable in bright sunshine. This
Yeah.
thing probably outshines the sun. It's like a beacon on your arm. Um,
Yeah.
it is a it is a chunky looking watch. It's got an awesome night mode as well. So
the red mode, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like it just makes me think of Predator or something, you know.
It does. It's
Terminator.
very good. And there was lots of other hardware in it though as well, wasn't there? You mentioned the crown. That's larger, and all these controls have been designed to work with gloves on.
They
So whether
have.
you're in snow or underwater or whatever, they've all designed to be easy and actually not fiddly. I think you mentioned the speaker, didn't you? There is a second speaker and an 87 decibel siren in there, in case someone needs to find you in the snow or whatever. They've got three built-in microphones this time to triangulate and isolate your voice. So if you're in heavily windy conditions, you'll still be able to speak via your watch. It is cellular only, obviously with international roaming. It's got
Well,
a
no,
nice,
cellular and Wi-Fi, but cellular as in it comes in only
yeah,
one model. Just
yeah.
to be
You can't
clear
get
on
it
it, yeah.
without cellular. It
No,
only comes in the cellular model. It's got a nice big battery. It's on 36 hours as standard and 60 hours in power save mode.
it's certainly. So I mean, Apple have designed this for the explorers, the adventurers, and the scuba diver.
The
So
scuba diver, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's yes. So what is it? It's WR100. So that's 100-meter water resistant. It's certified to EN 13319 for scuba divers. Basically, it's a certified dive computer, isn't it?
yeah, and Apple have been very clever here. So realizing that if somebody to come into the market in such a specialized market, scuba diving or diving, and come out with their own product would take a long time to get mass adoption and trust. But Apple have been quite smart here in that what they have done is they have partnered with Oceanic, who are one of the leading. They're leading. I think they make their own dive computers, don't
They
they?
do, yeah,
Oceanic make their own dive computers, and they partner with them to create this Oceanic Plus dive computer that's built into the watch. You're using the software to do that. So this is a really clever point, I think, for both companies, isn't it? Oceanic here get to list the dive computer on their website. If you go to Oceanic,
yeah,
there's a big thing with banner saying Oceanic Plus and the Apple Watch, and Apple on the other hand, basically out the door have now a trusted piece of software that scuba divers who will know the brand will be familiar with it
yeah,
on a piece of hardware, which again is trustworthy and people know works, and they've
yeah.
designed that to say support that, as you
And it
say, with
automatically launches, doesn't it? So as soon as you
automatic
go
launches.
underwater, automatically launches the depth app or whatever, and it shows you your time, your depth, temperatures. It does all sorts of tracking like a normal dive computer does. If you ascend too quickly, if you've been really deep, it tells you to slow down in case you get the bends or stuff like that.
And the other thing is as well, they've also released a lineup of straps for this that support diving. So they're specialized straps that expand and contract based on the depth you're at, and they're
Yeah,
designed for wearing over wetsuits or protective equipment. So again, this isn't a dive watch in the same sense of like your Omega Seamaster or your
no,
Rolex Submariner, but it is as good. And I've read a few reviews in the last couple of days from people who are divers, and there was a really good piece I read. I can't remember what it was now; it just escapes me. Where the guy was like, "I would trust this," and the guy was saying, and he's like, not because it's made by Apple, but because of that whole point around Oceanic. It was like they've done the smart thing here. This is not.
yeah,
You can't just walk into a new market and assume that people are going to trust it. They've gone with a trusted provider. Now, who's to say in a 2 or 3 revisions time that partnership will exist? Because we know Apple learn, don't they? And they
they do. Yeah,
adapt. But it means at the bat it works, and it is a phenomenal looking watch. Some other features on it as well is improvements in the GPS. So it has what's known as
the
the
dual
L5.
frequency one, isn't it? Yeah, the
Yeah,
dual frequency stuff.
so the L5 dual frequency, so L5 and the L1. This is quite new. It's only been available for a couple of years, and not many devices use it. But apparently, it works better in dense areas. So if you're in forest or you're in cityscapes,
Even in the
it
middle of London, trying to get a GPS lock sometimes can be a nightmare.
it does. So it works back. It also so that's built into it as well. It has also Bluetooth 5.3, which is up from 5.0 on the Watch 8. So that's an improvement as well. And the other thing was actually this is available in WatchOS 9 and on the Series 8. Is the compass now has a backtrack feature.
It
So
does,
if
yeah.
you're using the compass to track your route, you can backtrack your steps using the compass. Well, I thought it was quite clever. Um,
It is, yeah.
but this is awesome. This is awesome. There is something else I read, and I don't know if you saw it. Was with that multi-sport thing, the
Yeah.
triathlon, yeah. later this year, there's going to be an auto detect feature for certain athletics tracks. So when you turn up, the watch will detect that you're at a track, and flick you into the mode.
Yeah, I did read that one, definitely.
But I mean, you're right. So I mean, first impressions of this, it looks phenomenal. I love big watches. You know, I've got quite a large non-digital watch I'm wearing always on the left-hand side by a certain high-end manufacturer. I love it. It's a dive watch. Yes, I know. And I love this.
Dive,
I
Joe?
think I like to dive into the pool. Yes. It's just a phenomenal looking piece of kit. It really is. You know, and Apple. You know, when people talk about Apple and making a ruggedized watch, I don't think this is what people had in mind.
But I was expecting rubber.
Yeah, lots of rubber. No, but this is great. You know, this is great. You know.
They got me on the price. I was sitting there watching this with my son, and obviously I was live blogging it to you. And me and my son were having a discussion. I was like, right, how much do you reckon it's going to be? And my son was like, I don't know, $2,000. And I was like, I don't know, I think it's going to be that much, but definitely over $1,000. Then they just blew us away with the price. Came in at what, $799, isn't it?
$799 US, yeah.
US $849.
£849. So look, I thought we'll talk. I was going to have a section there to tell us what pre-ordered, but I'm going to be off the bat here. So I am denied about one of these, and I was very tempted to buy this watch. I even went as far as placing a pre-order on Sunday, with a pre-order with a delivery now stated for. I think because some cock-ups in the thing, which again, yeah.
We'll come back to
we'll come back to those. So my pre-order was end of October, November for the watch. So I went for one, the 49mm titanium case with blue-gray trail loop, which is a thing. So it arrives the 25th of October to 1st of November. This morning I've cancelled that order.
Oh no, have you?
And I have decided instead to go with a Series 8 cellular 45mm in product red.
Okay. Oh, nice.
I love that Ultra watch. I think it's phenomenal. I think all the features there. I just can't. This part of me is just like, I don't know whether I can justify using.
Will you use half those features? I know you're not a big explorer, Joe.
Shut up. Traveling, I use my watch a lot out walking stuff and going, country. So I use the GPS quite a lot on it, but that works 99% of the time. For me, at least, there's very few times it doesn't work. The water resistance to 50 meters is fine because I swim with mine. That's great. It works in the sea. That all those things, those capabilities are there for me. The battery life is probably the only thing that really cheeses me off, quite frankly. But 36 hours is, I can live with that because that's an improvement on the 6. So I can, if it lasts a whole day without me having to worry, then that's my biggest thing. I just was like, the additional GPS, the additional Bluetooth capabilities are great. But I just was like, is it just overkill for what I need? Because the 8 does everything pretty much, doesn't it? There's no sensor. There's no sensors on that Ultra that are different reality to the 8, is there?
No, you got the other than the GPS. I think that's it.
Yeah, but what I mean is, there's no capability loss, so to speak.
No,
apart from it. Taking the scuba diving away, there's no capability difference realistically.
And as they did say, even the videos, it was designed for extremes. They were talking deep scuba diving on Mount Everest, that kind of stuff, out in the desert. Extreme hostile environments it was built for. But we probably don't come across those very often.
No, and you know what? Maybe in the future, if I'm a little bit more flush, I could do it. So I've cancelled that. I've ordered the cellular version of the Watch 8 because it does international roaming now. And I've gone for product red, not because I wanted the red case, not the red band. So I'll put my existing band on it.
I want the red band, but not the red case.
But you can buy them now. That's the cool thing.
I know you can. Yeah. I need to buy a new watch though, really.
So I wear a Sport Loop. I've got a Nike Sport Loop one on mine.
Yeah.
In grey, which is really nice. In green. So I'm going to put that on there. But I like the Sport Loops for when I go swimming because they're water. They don't get wet.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're really good.
They're the silicone ones, aren't they?
Yeah. So I keep that for that. But I think the product red is going to look great. So that's. Oh, excuse me, hiccups. That's my purchase. I have purchased something else, but we'll talk about it in a second. So actually, let's move on to that then. So the other thing that was released before we get to the phone, and kind of we've been talking way too long on the watches, was the AirPods Pro 2.
Wow.
So AirPods Pro 2 are now out, and yeah, again, I think we've got a good evolution on the original AirPods Pro, haven't we here?
We have. I mean, they introduced a new H2 chip, didn't they? Which
Yeah.
underpowers all the improvements, and they're saying things like 2x noise cancellation, improved adaptive transparency mode. There's new low distortion audio drivers and custom amplifiers for what they call richer bass and crystal clear sound across a wide range of frequencies. Blah blah blah. They're doing spatial audio now, aren't they? With this, and they use I think you said you tried this, haven't you? They use the True Depth camera on the iPhone to map your head.
Yeah, so this was really weird. So that came up in one of the second or last betas of iOS 16.
Did it?
I had
right,
a pop up on my phone saying, saying basically you can, you're what's it? Take a picture of your phone, and I was like, what? And it's like, this is bizarre. How's that going to work? And I tried to do it, and it kept crashing out, and I couldn't work out why it kept crashing out. But now I realise it's because obviously it wasn't supported on the AirPods, was it?
Yeah, you don't have the AirPod 2s.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's it. But yes, so it is available now for the AirPods 2.
Yeah, I mean, there were some more hardware changes. You got there's a new touch bar, isn't there, on the stem that you can swipe to adjust volume.
Yeah, so they at the moment there's haptic touches, so I use that quite a lot. So if you pinch them, so if I'm walking along and I need to stop it, I pinch the stem and it turns, stops the playback. But you're right, this you say is a touch where you can slide up and down for volume. I'm not convinced that's going to be very good. I don't know about you,
but you're going to hit that quite often.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to. Yeah.
I mean, other things, they've got improved battery life. They're now saying 6-hour battery life with ANC on. 30 with a case. They're throwing in new extra small ear tips. They fit more comfortably with more people. Talking of the case as well, it now has a speaker and Find My support, doesn't it, built in? Yeah.
So
subject.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I lost the case to my AirPods last week whilst out in the United States. I went running, and the case must have slipped out of my pocket whilst I was running, and I didn't realize until it was too late. And I tried to backtrack where I'd been, but just couldn't find it. And let's be honest, I was in Las Vegas, so somebody probably had that way before I blinked.
They've had that, yeah, exactly.
Annoyingly, you cannot track the cases unless there is one or both iPods, inside. How annoying is that? That is the most ridiculous limitation ever.
Time to upgrade. They fixed that. It's revolutionary.
Yeah, it is revolutionary. Could have been revolutionary last week. It could save me. So I've got a pair of AirPods. I want to know as well is, do the AirPods Gen 1 Pro fit in the Pro 2 case?
Don't know. They didn't look any different to me, but I don't have a pair of AirPod Pros, so
I tell you now, they don't fit in the AirPod Gen 3 cases.
No, but that's a different design, isn't it?
I know. You can imagine my frustration when I got home. I was like, I wonder if I can make these charge.
Because Hannah's, so your wife's got a pair, hasn't she? So yeah. It's annoying, but I mean, the new case, it's got more features. You can charge it with MagSafe now, can't you? And the watch charger, or a Lightning port. No USB-C. Really?
USB-C's got to die.
Lightning's got to die, not USB-C. We want USB-C.
No. I've come to you're right. I've come to the conclusion. I've come round to the idea now. Lightning has to go. I'm done with it.
What we got left now? It's just literally the original phones. iPad, the phones, and obviously the new AirPods case.
Yeah, but I mean, as we said, the case is the new noise cancelling. One of the interesting parts about this new noise cancelling, by the way, is obviously they've improved the ANC. They said, which is much better, isn't it? The adaptive. So there's transparency mode as well, which they now call adaptive transparency. So if there's a loud noise like a
drill or something like that,
See, I live in noise cancelled world. I'm not particularly fan of background noise, so when I go out and I wear my AirPods, I always have noise cancelling mode. But sometimes, obviously, that's not if I'm trying to cross the road, it's not always brilliant. So having transparency in adaptive would be really useful, especially when you're close to loud noises. So I'm kind of keen to see that that approach.
How keen, Jay?
How keen? Keen enough that I have ordered a set.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you'd actually order a set. I know you got umming and ahhing and thinking about buying a second-hand case off eBay, but
So,
you've ordered a set. Well, this
so
has been an
without
expensive week for you then.
well, without going into absolute details, there's a facility through my employer where I can leverage some money that we get for health, if you will.
Yeah.
And there's a nice chunk of money, a pot of money that they give you for the year, and it's up to you how you spend it. As long as it fits into various categories, short of being hardcore drugs or weapons. So I've ordered there's to say, so the 45mm product red Series 8 cellular, and I've ordered AirPods too. It's come to £798, so that fits nicely in my
allowance for the year.
Yeah, so that hasn't cost me anything. Up front it has, but
we'll claim that
back, not in a way. But I really like them. I think I'll be honest with you, I would not have bought them if
had you not lost your case.
Yeah. But did you? I don't know if you. I don't know if I misheard you. Did you mention about the new charging capabilities of the case?
Yeah, Lightning only. Oh, but Lightning, not USB-C, but it will use the MagSafe charger or the watch charger as well.
That's it, the watch charger piece, because that was like brilliant. That's one other thing you can now put it on.
One less thing I have to carry with me when I'm traveling.
Yeah, but we forgot the other most important piece. It's got a lanyard holder, hasn't it? You can put a lanyard,
the metal loop bit. You can put your lanyard through. Yeah.
Guess what I'm buying? Not the Apple one, but
no. There is an Apple one, is there? Oh, how much is that?
Oh, I can't. I wasn't going to go back and look, but it wasn't cheap.
No, okay, right. But I think the last thing was it was sweat and water resistant. The case.
Yeah. Again, what?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll try to think where I'll use that. I mean, are you taking your case in the water, were you?
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I think water resistant, as in splash resistant, maybe. If you
maybe, yeah.
All right, then. Let's get to the big boys before we run out of time today. So then, of course, the whole point of the whole this event and the lead up to this point in September, as every September, is the launch of the iPhone, which is now in its 15th year, if I'm correct, isn't it? But we are on the iPhone 14.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome, iPhone 14.
Because we skipped the 9, didn't we?
We went straight to 10. Yes, so we've got the iPhone 14, the iPhone 14 Plus, the iPhone 14 Pro, and the iPhone 14 Pro
Max.
So then, off the bat, let's kind of give the highlights. So it's
highlights.
Welcome to the iPhone 13s, I think.
Yeah, we'll call it the 13s. Yeah, you're right. It's the 14 Plus. So we got the Plus design, didn't we? That's a new 6.7 inch. They got rid of the Mini. So we just have the standard 6.1 and the new Plus size.
You can still buy the Mini though, can't you? Isn't that still available?
Buy the 13 Mini. It's still available, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same. It's the same chassis. It's even the same A15 Bionic chip as what's in the 13 series. Oh no, I lie. If you buy it in the US, it's not the same chassis because they've removed the physical SIM slot.
That's right. But
that's the only change. That's the only change. There's no SIM.
US only.
eSIM only for you if you're in the US. Which got me panicked because they didn't mention US only, did they, on the actual show? And I'm going, Free doesn't support eSIM yet. My network. I'm panicking. It was in the fine detail.
I think though, this is clearly the way forward. We've been saying this for a couple of years since they introduced eSIM. It has been a long time, isn't it, around?
Oh, it has, yeah. I do have an eSIM, but not for my main network provider.
No, and my provider's EE, and they made them available last year. They finally simplified it all. I think it was back in May of last year. Yep. So I'm going to try and move to an eSIM if I can. I think it's much better. Less worry around having bit of plastic in there that could break, degradation.
For international travelers, especially when you're in the US, quite often they buy SIM cards locally when they get to a place and pop them in. You won't be able to do that anymore unless the country you're in has an eSIM.
Yeah. But for Apple, that's a minor worry.
Yeah, not their problem. But I mean, they are touting things like improved battery life as well. But I don't think the batteries got any bigger, did they?
No, so they've got same chassis size as well. Just to be clear, the 6.1.
Well, the 6.7 will have an improved battery life over the 6.1, bigger battery. But
But I don't see that. I think there was last year when wasn't it iFixit broke open the 13. There was improvements in the size of the logic board, wasn't there? The
Okay, they
battery
shrunk it down.
was slightly bigger. But actually, I'm pretty sure I read though, compared to the iPhone 12, the battery was slightly smaller in some places, but in terms of milliamp size. But as you say, due to improvements in the software and the technology, was giving us longer life of battery. But generally speaking, it isn't much different. Before we get into the technical pieces, let's talk about the colors.
What do we get? Oh, we got blue, didn't we? Blue, purple, or lilac? It's called purple.
Yeah, so we got
it?
Mum's minivan blue, as they call it in America, isn't it?
Yeah.
We got midnight black now. Sorry, space black. Sorry, not space grey. Space black.
I thought we got.
I thought it was
written
space
down
black.
Blue, purple, midnight, and starlight, and red.
I thought the black was. I thought the colours were. I'm sure it was space black, wasn't it?
No, that's on the Pro.
Oh no, midnight black. Sorry, is it midnight?
Yeah, it's
sorry,
midnight.
It's midnight.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Midnight
My apologies.
yeah.
Wrong notes.
Blue,
sorry,
purple, midnight, starlight, and red.
Yeah, and the purple, as you say, is like a very. It's almost like a. It's not really purple,
lilac. It's
a
lilac, very pale purple. Yeah.
Starlight, again, just looks silver to me. Blue again is a variation on the blue from last year. Again, like a very light hello, and of course, product red is the one, isn't it? The same for the iPhone 14 Plus, exactly the same sizing.
Colors.
And then, then just the Pro, which we'll talk about depth. And then Pro gets space black, which again, to be honest with you, isn't really much different than midnight,
isn't it?
I mean,
it's not the Darth Vader black that we had on the 8.
No, it wasn't that. Which one came with the glossy one?
That was the 8, wasn't it?
The glossy black,
was 7?
Terrible.
Glossy black,
7. It was scratched. 7. It was awful glossy finish. We have a proper silver, so the silver on the Pro is
called silver.
And it's got basically got a white back, and it's got a very polished silver indents, the siding. We've got the follow over from the gold, which was introduced with the 12, which is again quite classy. I like that. But
you've got a gold already, haven't you?
I have, but our favourite, of course, though, is the deep purple, isn't it?
Deep purple, which we've purchased.
We purchased. So, and that's the same, of course, for the iPhone Pro Max. But so colours, and again, Apple aren't stepping out of their comfort zone at all, are they? Here, the colours. There's no bold colours here, and I think for Apple to really differentiate themselves, they've got to grab something. You've got to just be like, guys, let's make it bright orange or something.
Let's
somebody
do
will buy
the
that.
iPhone 5C colours.
Yeah, that's
that kind of pop.
My wife loved the 5C because she had the
brilliant bright green,
blue. She had the bright blue. She loved it. They were statement colours, weren't they?
They were.
And do you remember they had the whole line of cases, didn't they, that went with them?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, let's move on to the hardware. So let's talk about the hardware then. So on the camera side,
crash detection.
Sorry,
so we've got the crash detection chip.
Crash detection.
Coming to all the 14s, haven't we? So those are in there. So even if you don't have the watch, you'll still get proper crash detection using these new gyroscope and G-force.
We will indeed. So along with the watches as well. So that keeps you nice and safe there. There's no other additional sensors that were announced in terms of the phone beyond improvements in the capabilities. So it hasn't got any temperature or any of those kind of sensors. No. They're all now very much in the watch. But crash detection is very useful, and again, in line with that 250 Gs, which we hope we'll never use. So that was there as well. So let's talk about the cameras then. So cameras, has been some upgrades, isn't there? So especially from there's a new ultra wide, and the 12 megapixel main camera has had improvements to the aperture, isn't it, and the stabilization capabilities.
It has, yeah, exactly. And the front one's now got autofocus on the entire lineup. So I think possibly the first phone ever having autofocus on the front camera, or one of the first only, isn't it?
That's right. That's the true depth one they call it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's now got a proper autofocus rather than a fixed focus, which will be good for your selfies. The whole thing about all the cameras here was really about improving low light, wasn't it? Low light capture.
Massively.
So not astrophotography, but certainly helping you out in those low light moments. They even built out a new image pipeline they're calling, photonic engine. Basically, this is a rejigged. They basically rejigged what they've done with deep fusion AI processing. So before they did they captured in raw, they converted to compressed, didn't they? Then they started applying all the AI deep fusion processing. But now they've actually moved that deep fusion AI processing to the raw image before they compress it. And apparently this is going to give them better, improved detail in color and improved low light, as well as
I'm
the
really surprised.
better
I
aperture
thought
stuff.
they would do it. I really am shocked. I thought they were processing the raw image before.
Not according to Apple's
No,
slide, anyway.
but it just doesn't make. Why would you? It just puzzled me. Why would you modify a?
Speed, I imagine.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
And I suppose maybe the chips are faster now. They've got their software's better at it, so now they can move it to the raw and still make it as quick.
Yes, that's true. That's true. They could do that, but yeah, okay. Minor qualm.
Exactly.
But, and of course,
but they did. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say the photonic engine.
Yeah.
I just have some queries on that.
Go on. What are your queries?
So this whole new rendering thing, isn't it, with the photonic engine?
The pipeline
clearly is software.
Of course it is.
So why is that not available on the 13, given pretty much everything bar the actual physical camera is the same?
Money.
That's the only answer, isn't it?
Only reason. It is the 13. Okay, it's got some slightly improved cameras, but that's not going to change the rendering pipeline. You're right. That is entirely software. Yeah, they could roll that back to the 13. Or at the very least, the 13 Pros easily.
It just is puzzling, isn't it? I think, how Apple do these things. But there you go. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, there were some improvements to video as well, wasn't there? I quite like this. Action mode for video is a definite improvement. So this is a video image stabilization. So you should get lovely smooth video no matter how kind of bumpy or juddery the camera is. So it's the same kind of thing you get on the... I've got GoPros I use for snowboarding and stuff. And they've got an image stabilization there that doesn't matter if I'm jumping around or crashing. Get a lovely, beautiful, smooth picture of me face planting. So you'll now get that on your phone.
It's almost like you don't need a gimbal, isn't it? Almost gimbal-less technology.
It's replacing the gimbal. They do it by, I think, they don't give you the full image size, do they? They've shrunk down the capture window, so you've still got pixels above, left, right, and below, so they can move it in software afterwards.
Yeah, it's
so
a lot of cropping.
Nice and smooth.
Yeah, a lot of cropping going on there. But again, it'll be useful. And also another improvement to that cinematic mode, wasn't there before? So that before only shot in 1080p.
Yes,
so if you recall
right.
the cinematic mode, for anybody's like, what the hell's that? It was that, they kind of had it where it had autofocus, kind of like, if you had people behind you, like in a cinema, wouldn't it? Where
you could switch focuses, couldn't you? Like you get in a cinema, like you say, yeah.
Only shot in 1080p. So it's kind of like, what, why would you have that? So now it shoots in 4K. So that's really good. So 4K at 30 frames per second and
supports 24 frames per second.
24 frames per second.
Movie,
so that's it. Yeah. So really nice, impressive work there. But I mean, so the cameras here, I've said this before. This is not a phone with a camera. This is a camera with a phone. Apple really are moving to a situation where just, where you don't need a DSLR. You don't need to take out. You can use the mirrorless approach, isn't it?
Yeah. The only time where I'd like the DSLR is the bigger optical zoom.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only place here, isn't it? Realistically, we've got macro photography now. You've got the low light capability, as you say. It hasn't got astrophotography either, but you'll certainly be able to shoot better. You can shoot in RAW as well. It's just we can't. And I know the whole thing about the 48 megapixel camera. It's not true 48 megapixel if you don't shoot in RAW. And Samsung are making real big point about that in their advertising at the minute. But at the end of the day, it's still a hell of a decent camera. Isn't it?
It is, yeah. We'll cover that when we get to the Pro Max, won't we?
So I think that's probably a good place to move over then. Let's talk about the Pro Max.
Are we not going to talk about the other big feature?
Oh, go on then. Sorry, go on.
There was one big feature, and it's coming to all the 14s. And this is when that satellite over the Earth came in. So yeah, and all 14 models were now.
I wasn't sure if you were saving that for kind of the one last thing, but go on.
No. Well, let's do it. It's in my notes.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we're getting emergency SOS via satellite. So there's a new chip in the cellular modem. It's going to use the current antennas on the phone and allow you to send emergency SOS messages via satellite when you don't have cellular or Wi-Fi.
This is actually groundbreaking, and I think we kind of talked about this before when we talk about the rumors. This is groundbreaking. Certainly, it's a Gen 1 capability. This isn't, is it Global? Is it Global Star, the company they partner with? I think it is, isn't it?
It didn't catch who it was, yeah.
But I think, but realistically, you're not talking here phone calls. You said it's emergency SOS.
No,
so we're talking
it is emergency
messages,
SOS. It's not your normal, but not normal text messages or phone calls. It is for that emergency situation only.
Yeah.
And there are some caveats. It's not as easy to use as you have to, because they're using the current antennas used for phone calls rather than special stuff. You actually have to point the phone at the satellite, don't you?
That's right. You have to be outside. It can take around 15 seconds to send a message. There's a special new GUI that pops up, isn't there, that kind of talks you through the process of doing it.
Where to point at the satellite, tells you when you've got a lock, and it'll start sending.
And you can also send Find My Location as well.
You can,
with it.
I think that's for anyone. That's not just to emergency. I think that's to anyone. Find your location. It's free, 2 years.
Yeah, there we go. That's the weird. This is the puzzling point. It's free for 2 years. Now, does that mean in 2 years' time, if you get a new iPhone, does that reset the counter?
Quite possibly. I don't think they'll come back to us. I think in 2 years they're not going to say, right, give us some money. I reckon this will just be rolled into Apple One, or get a new phone, get 2 more years.
Possibly, yeah. I think that's probably the case, because it would be puzzling if they didn't have capability where you can. And if you had to pay for it, majority of people will not pay for this.
Well, no, exactly. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very, very cool. I love the tech. I love the effort they've put in behind the scenes as well, because not all emergency services support SMS for an emergency. No. So Apple have actually built their own emergency centers that will take that SMS, and then an agent will actually, or a trained agent, as they say, will actually call the emergency services on your behalf, kind of acting as a middleman, so that they can then send messages back to you and be the man in the middle relaying that.
It is, and there is talk that Elon Musk kind of dropped some hints that they were talking to Starlink as well to improve the range of the satellites, because at the moment this only works in North America and I think in Canada potentially as well.
Yeah.
So us over here in Europe, don't get lost, basically.
No, not unless you bought the Watch Ultra, because you know exactly where you are then.
That 86 decibel siren, gosh, yeah, everybody will know. But yeah, so this is very cool. It will launch in November, so I'm really interested to hear about and see this in real life. What it looks like, and I'm sure we'll see some videos of it being tested as well. Yeah. So can't wait to see that. But yeah, definitely. About all the features, this is the differentiator. Everything else, we've seen somewhere or similar, or in some form or other. But satellite communication in a standard mobile phone is truly groundbreaking in my view.
It is. And they've not raised the prices in the US again.
Not for the 14.
No, starting at $799. I think $899 if you want the Plus. Coming over to the UK, we have seen a price increase. It's £849 for the standard and $949 for the Plus now. So it's gone up by what, £50?
Yeah. So let's be honest, given the inflation rate, actually, it could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse.
The Pro is worse.
Well, I just think, given that it could have been far worse than it was, given the fact of the way inflation's going.
Yep. Right. So then, Pros and Maxes.
Pro Maxes. So this, there is now a point in Apple has a deviation in their lineups now. It's very clear now that the Pro lineup is where everything changes, and that's just not from. We're not talking about designing the chassis. Again, that's the same. We're talking in hardware. So the Pro comes with all of the capabilities we've just talked about.
Yep.
But also comes with now the A16, Bionic chip, of course, yes. So only available in the 14 Pro and Pro Max, though I'm sure it'll be available in the 15 standard phone next year.
And we'll get an A17, definitely, yeah.
So this is the new 6-core CPU, so two high-performance cores that apparently are more efficient and use 20% less power than the previous generation, and four efficiency cores they're better here. So this is Apple's kind of, I guess, driver, is it? This is the M version, of the M2, sorry, I should say, of the mobile world now. But they didn't really give much else, did they, out about the chip beyond kind of the standard high-level stuff?
50% more memory bandwidth, they were saying. There's a new neural engine that can perform 17 trillion operations a second, a new advanced ISP for the cameras, which we'll talk about in a minute. They're still saying it's 40% faster than the competition. At
What is the
what and who the
competition?
competition is, I don't know. As you mentioned, the high performance cores use 20% less power. And actually, they are saying the full efficiency cores use a third of the power of chips from competitors. But again, which chips and which competitors, they've not mentioned.
So apparently there has been some Geekbench leaks
Yep, they have.
that have shown that there is a 17% increase, or sorry, 17% faster than the A15 that's currently in the 13 Pro, which
Yep.
realistically is nothing, is it?
No.
And that's the thing here. Just to kind of take that step back, we are, there's not the i14 standard is the same hardware effectively underneath RAM and memory as the iPhone 13.
Well, I'm not sure memory size. Yes, if it's got
Well, no, memory
50% more
size.
memory bandwidth, then
The bandwidth,
maybe the width is bigger.
and I guess they would have made improvements to the chip, but we're not seeing it. What I guess to kind of take it a look at it another way, then what I'm saying here is this isn't a bad thing. I think what we're actually starting to see here is we're starting to see a slowdown in evolution. Not a lack of efficiency or speed or any of those capabilities, but just a slowdown in the evolution requirements. Because if you think about it, right, you go back 10, 15 years, it used to take 2 or 3 generations to get 25% speed bumps, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And memory speed. We're seeing that every 12 months now. In less than
Yeah.
that, in some respects, so 17%, whilst isn't going to really make it much different,
but 70%
we
while
are
using
going
less power.
Exactly. That's the key here. Everything now is geared to power efficiency. Internet, in that sense. So yeah, the A16 again is going to be an impressive chip, and I have no doubt it is probably better than whatever Qualcomm are putting out but Qualcomm aren't working at the same, I think, delivery speed that Apple are, really, are they?
No, they don't
But
have that synergy between chips and software
no,
like
no,
Apple do. So I mean,
not at
they've
all.
been behind for a while. In every kind of conceivable benchmark, anyway.
So this is, according to Tim Apple, this is their most innovative Pro lineup yet. Tim, we know that.
Yeah.
So then, tell us what else we got. So most of the features, then let's talk about some of the improvements to the rear camera, then, because that's
So we got well, as you mentioned, we got a new 48 megapixel main camera on the rear. And as you mentioned, you won't get the 48 megapixel unless you're shooting in RAW. Now, if you're not shooting in RAW, you'll still get a 12 megapixel picture, but it's basically using what they call a quad pixel sensor. So, and we speculated on this previously. What it does is it combines those 4 pixels into one for improved quality. Better low light ability, improved colors and definition, etc. It's got a new 1.78 aperture, 24mm focal length. They're saying 2x improvement in low light, and as mentioned, you can switch to that 48 megapixel Pro RAW if you want full access to the sensor. We've got a new not new ultra wide. We got new lenses on the ultra wide for improved macro photography, and also 3x improved low light performance. The telephoto they're saying is twice low light performance. So again, it's all about low light performance, isn't it? The front facing gets the same autofocus as a 14. What else? Oh, we got an upgraded flash as well, apparently.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
And the
Twice
only
as
other one
bright.
was twice as bright. We now have a fourth option on zoom. So we have the 0.5, which is the ultra wide. We have the 1, which is normal, and we had the 3x optical zoom. Now we have a 2x. And what that's doing is it's taking the 48 megapixel raw image and cutting a chunk out of it, isn't it? To give you that improved zoom to sit between the 1x and the 3x.
I think that's going to look quite sharp, actually, given the cropping, the digital cropping that's going to happen there.
Yeah, I think so. So that'd be interesting to see. But I mean, and it inherits all the other stuff. So you've got the new action cam mode. What do they call it? Action mode. You've got the improved cinematic mode, the photonic engine, all that kind of stuff's obviously in the Pro as well.
They have, and another nice little touch. And I know it's not a physical, it's not a hardware touch, but the camera bump on the back now has the same color indentation around it.
Oh,
Did you notice that?
it's larger. I had not noticed that, but I know it's
So
larger. I
before,
noticed that.
yeah. So before it had like the metal, didn't it? Like this, the metal sort
Yep.
of edge. Well, that now is the same color as the rest of the chassis. Just minor. It just caught my eye. I was like,
okay.
oh, that's nice. But yeah, you're right. Definitely is a bigger bump, isn't it? It's
it is larger lenses there.
Much larger lenses there, but again, the pictures here, just that's the one thing for me. That's why I upgrade nearly always. Isn't because it sings a song or looks for looks for satellites. It's the cameras. For me, that's what it's all about.
Well, also the display this time for me.
Oh, well, 120. Yeah, well, we're both on the 12. Don't forget. So 120 megahertz ProRes or ProMotion. Excuse me.
On. That's the bit I'm waiting for. So yeah, it did get a bump in brightness, didn't it? It's gone from 1600. It's been bumped to 1600 nits. It can boost to 2000 nits outside. It's got the always on display, so they've dropped it from one to can go as low as 1 hertz, kind of up to 120 hertz.
And that always on display, don't forget, is only available on the Pro models. Again, just to stress that.
They've moved the proximity sensor behind the display, and this has made way for. Now, do you want to announce this, Jay?
Oh, go on then. This makes way for the new digital island. So there was a lot of speculation.
Dynamic island.
Dynamic island. God damn it! I was look. Do you know what? I had it in front of me on the notes. I knew I was going to do that. Quickly. We can edit that bit out. The dynamic island. Yes. So dynamic island is the new software approach to the problem of the notch, or in this case, the pill. I think the pill. So behind the top of the screen, if you were to peel away the screen, you'd see that there's a camera and there are 2 sensors in a pill-shaped thing. Yeah. So it includes
it looks like an eye on its side, doesn't it? You've got one long bit, and then you've got the dot. So it looks like an eye.
But what's really clever is the dynamic island is a software approach to that. So what you have here is a mini notification bar that kind of almost comes out of and expands. Imagine that like pill shape. When there's a certain application change or a state change of the phone, maybe you're plugging your headphones in, maybe you've got charging, it expands across the top of the screen. And then if you've got certain applications, let's say music player, it almost kind of, I don't know the best way to describe it, almost kind of envelops it, doesn't it? And expands.
Yeah, it kind of dynamically resizes, doesn't it? So it can be just the size of the eye to cover it. It can expand vertically, horizontally, depending on the information you're showing. And you can always click into it, can't you, to access more information or relevant controls. It's hard to explain without seeing it. So obviously we'll stick a link in the podcast notes, but definitely go watch the videos. It is really, really slick the way they've done it.
It really is. And there's some slow motion videos that kind of show how it works, and it moves it around, and it kind of just, as you say, expands and the notifications pop out. There's one, some really good ones there showing like flight information, which is really clever. Your AirPods connected and the battery life, music player notification, just again, really useful ways. And, again, an innovative response to a problem that Apple created themselves,
Oh yeah, and at least this time they've actually opened it to third parties as well.
Yeah,
so there is an API you'll be able to plumb into it. The animations, the way it moves around, look really, really good. So I'm excited to play with this.
It is, and Apple, historically have usually kept the new features for themselves. It usually takes a generation or so before Apple kind of release, these kind of first party features to other developers, but this one they haven't. As you say, off the bat, if you've got the capability to make an app that goes in there, you're going to be able to use the dynamic island. And I think actually developers are going to want to do this because it's going to have a great experience for their application, especially whenever you have a notification element to it as well. It's going to pop up. So really, really nice approach. And I think actually, given what the notch is, you're going to forget it's there, I think, going forward.
Unless until you go to watch a video in landscape. And then it's going to be very obvious, more than a notch.
Yes.
Just rest your thumb over that part of the screen.
They didn't show that. They didn't show that.
No, they did not. That's going to be the only bit where it's obvious. The rest of the time, it's going to be a useful feature. And they've handled it in a really, really good way that I don't think any of us expected. I mean, I was watching it live and, as live as you can be. And the whole audience laughed when they said dynamic island. But then they all start going, ooh, when it actually showed what it was.
I think I've had a few different podcasts as well who've been talking about this, and they've been saying this is really this is Apple at its best. Apple software coming, working in a really
with the hardware.
Yeah, well, again, it's just, but there was a caveats of like, well, this wouldn't have happened if Apple hadn't built the notch in. But given that the majority of mobile phones today have a similar notch or cutout or something similar, I don't think we're getting away from this until Apple have the technology, or at least want to publicize the technology of under screen capabilities.
Well, that's it. And I think other manufacturers had under screen, but the reviews and the videos I've seen of the under screen cameras, they're not very good.
No.
Apple won't do that till they can at least have the same quality.
No. And again, that's the thing.
the other manufacturers don't have the FaceTime, do they? Don't have the time of flight and the what's the camera called on the front that does the face detection? The ones used for the AirPods. True depth sensors.
Oh, true depth sensors. Yeah.
None of them have that capabilities. So that's another thing they've got to figure out how to put behind the screen.
No, but I think this is a great idea, like you say, and it'll be awesome to see it in action and see what people do with it as well with other applications. So really, again, this is a standout piece. Hardware is great, but this again, software standout application piece.
Yeah,
cool. So cameras, true depth. We've talked about the back end. We've talked about the dynamic island. Oh, God damn it, I'll get it right. Always on display. Then anything else we missed?
The big price jump.
Oh yes, a bit more expensive.
So
isn't it?
we have both bought ones, haven't we? We've both gone for what? Oh, you went for the 512.
I went for 512 this time. Yeah,
I went for 256. We both went for Deep Purple Pro Maxes. This is where it gets it. This is a price jump. So I bought my wife a 13 Pro Max 256. Back in June, when she decided to throw her current one at the floor. And that cost me 1,149 at that point. Okay, still a current top of the range model. Same spec I've just bought in the 14 Pro Max is now going to cost me 1,309, so £160 more.
Oh dear. I mean,
same price in the US though. The same as the 13 in the US. The 14 is the same price. It's just UK and other ones. Well, there's apparently a multitude of reasons for it, but yeah, that's a lot of money extra.
It is a lot of money. Yeah. So one of the things that I think we should mention though is if you're going on the iPhone upgrade program, there has been a notable change there, hasn't there?
Don't know. I bought it outright this time.
Well, the cost reduction I meant.
Because don't you have to buy Apple, or do you not have to buy Apple Care?
No. So we were talking about this before. Do you remember that? So before, if you were purchasing iPhone upgrade program, you had to buy Apple Care was included. You couldn't not have Apple Care. So the price included Apple Care, and therefore we were paying, if you recall, we were paying around, just shy of £62 a month for the iPhone upgrade program for our previous iPhone 12 Pro Maxes 256, weren't we?
Yep.
Now, the iPhone 14 Pro that I've gone for, the 512, was £63 for the 512. So you'd think, okay, well, you're paying more money.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm paying like a pound more for the phone. The phone outright is £1,529, which is far more than it was before. But I didn't have to pay Apple Care. If I'd gone for the 256, version, I think it would have been £53. So that
but you're not getting your Apple Care though. So, but no, not because you're not getting the £200 odd worth of Apple Care.
You're right. Now, part of me's like, maybe I should have gone for Apple Care. Maybe. But like we were talking about, have we ever used it? I've never used it. But now Sod's Law states that I have now completely caused myself a huge problem, haven't I? Because now, without having it, I guarantee you I will do something to the phone. It will.
Of course. Well, yeah, my wife threw hers at the floor once it was out of Apple Care. She couldn't have done it a couple of weeks earlier when it was in Apple Care. I mean, that would have been really helpful.
No, of course, but she had to wait, mate.
She wanted a new phone. Didn't want the old one repaired.
She saw you coming a mile off. But I think that's the problem here, isn't it? With it, but I just part of me is like, it's not a bad thing. The price has gone up, but then on the other hand, are we shocked with those prices going up?
No, more annoyed that it's the same price in the US, and that when the exchange rate's the other way around, our price of the phones don't go down below the US. They stay at the same price.
Drop. They never drop.
No, they've only ever go up. So it kind of feels like we're maybe subsidizing the US here.
Well, considering also that the exchange rate at the minute is almost a parity, isn't it?
It is. Now, Now, I know, obviously, I understand that the prices in the US don't include sales tax. Ours do, but that doesn't change the fact that ours have gone up so much and the US hasn't changed.
No. It is struggling. I struggle with that sometimes to understand the logic behind the pricing. But
and I think if I had a 13 Pro Max at this point, I probably wouldn't have upgraded.
I agree with you.
There are nice new features I definitely want, but it wouldn't have been a massive improvement from the 13 to warrant the how much extra.
I'm tempted now going forward. Depending, I mean, I may change my mind. Come the end of next year.
What the 15 is, yeah.
But comparing what the 15 is, unless it's a real compelling feature, I don't think I'll upgrade either.
No, I think I'll stick this out for 2 years and sell it.
The only reason I'm not selling my 12 is I want to move that to be my work phone.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the next point. So we were both doing our pre-order at the same time. The difference with I was doing my pre-order 4,000 miles away, and you were doing
in a country that wasn't your home.
But I had the VPN on. Anyway, your phone is going to be delivered when?
Friday. This Friday.
My phone is not going to be delivered till the 10th to the 17th of October.
Ouch.
I could not get my order to process.
You were not the only one. They had multiple issues, didn't they?
It turns out there is. I kept getting store errors. I kept getting it just wouldn't connect. Do you know what made me so angry though? Was I'd done the pre-order.
Yeah, you did your pre-order.
I'd done all the pre-order. I'd done the all of the pre-checks were done. This was just confirming my order.
You had to go and press the OK button, basically, didn't you?
It would not work, and in the end, I ended up doing mine 8 o'clock in the evening on Friday.
So 8 hours after? 7 hours.
Yeah,
after
7 hours.
You were meant to have done it. Yeah,
I was sat on a plane back from New York. Unable to do it, and I waited for 7 hours.
I'm surprised you didn't buy the Wi-Fi access.
I was tempted, but it was like $16 for Wi-Fi, and I was like, the part of me was like, God damn it, I will not do this.
Out of principle, but I really want it.
Out of principle. And then, but do you know what was even more annoying? I was walking on my phone, and it wouldn't work on the Apple Store app. I had to do it on the website to make it work.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
So mine turns up on between the week of the 10th to the 17th of October. My watch is due for the 5th to the 12th of October, and my AirPods will be the 23rd of September.
Wow.
I'm hoping though, because sometimes Apple do speed it up, don't they?
They do. Yeah, those are kind of like your worst case estimates, aren't they?
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm hoping it might show up. So then we've talked a lot about iOS 16 already. I think we're kind of, rather than dwelling on it, to kind of be here. We've covered a lot of iOS 16. iOS 16 is available now. As of the 12th of September, it's officially.
Some point today, yeah.
Which is today. So it is available, coming out. iPad OS will not launch with 16. iPad OS will launch at 16.1. So if you're wondering where that is, that's it. So we've talked quite a lot about that. I don't know if there's any other features we kind of haven't talked about iOS 16, Carl. I know we've covered it a lot.
We've covered it in the past, haven't we? So
yeah. So that's it. So then the other thing, really, just to kind of wrap up for today, what they didn't release. Well,
yes,
no VR.
No, but we've kind of expecting that's coming in January, aren't we? And that's a big one of those revolutionary ones for them, I think. So it needs its own dedicated event.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Apple will be definitely doing their own event, event that for the headset, whatever we're going to call it.
Yep.
I'm not surprised. None of us are shocked by this point. And I don't think there was any other major thing. The only thing, obviously, perhaps was maybe HomePod.
Oh yeah, we didn't get astrophotography, which obviously we mentioned.
Of course,
earlier.
Yeah, we did mention that. Yeah,
we didn't get fever detection using temp sensors. We didn't get lossless audio for AirPods.
No, we didn't, did we? No, that's a good
Although
point.
we got Bluetooth 5.3 and we got some new LC3 audio codec, which is meant to improve quality, but it isn't lossless like you get on the Macs. No USB-C port.
No.
No Wi-Fi 6E on the phones, apparently.
I hadn't noticed that. That's a good point.
No, Wi-Fi 6, but not 6E. And we didn't get any new iPads. We were expecting a new redesigned original iPad, the iPad. Maybe that'll be in its own event.
October, November time. I think we'll see an iPad event where they could launch the HomePods as well at the same time, in time for Christmas.
Yeah, but that was the only thing I'd written down. I couldn't think we didn't.
No, I think they were the key things, weren't they? So all in all, though, most of the rumors were pretty bang on this year. Again,
yeah, of course.
So yeah, I think that's probably a good place to wrap. We've gone slightly long today, so thanks for sticking with us. If you have one thing, obviously we didn't mention at the start of the show, but of course was a delay. Was the passing of Queen Elizabeth II this last week, which again is another momentous occasion in history for perhaps the wrong reasons, but is a changing of the eras as we now step out of the second Elizabethan age into what is now known as the Carolean age. I heard the other day. So we're on to the reign of King Charles III here in the United Kingdom, but of course, it's a very sad time for the country, the royal family, and those who knew the Queen personally. So it is a bit of delay. So next week we will be back next week for our show, probably delayed by a couple of days, given there is a public holiday in the UK on the 19th for the Queen's funeral. But our regular programming will resume as soon as we can. So we'll be back next week at some point for episode 104, the Weekly Tech Rant, and we're going to be covering latest tech stories. We've got more breaches, we've got more holes, we've got more AMD, NVIDIA. And yes, our friends at the Competition Markets Authority are back as well for a little bit of a chat. So with that, then, of course, you can find us on the usual places. So we're on Twitter at Weekly Tech Rant. We're online at techrant.online. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts. I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good day, all.